Welcome to WANM Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. I'm your host Calvin Sykes, and with me is FAMU football head coach Willie Simmons. Thank you for joining us today, Coach Simmons.
Always a pleasure.
So the Florida A&M Rattlers went up against Versus Central Knights a couple of weeks ago, ended in a 62-0 loss. So what were your takeaways from that game?
Well, honestly, obviously, when you go into a game of that magnitude against a nationally ranked FBS team, the cards are already stacked against you. And so we knew that we would have to play a very, very sound football game. We would have to hope that they didn't play a very good football game for us to have a chance. And we didn't execute the way that we had been practicing for 25 days. And that was probably the big takeaway from the game. After we were able to watch the film, assess what we were able to do, we saw that we were just uncharacteristic in a lot of our fundamentals, a lot of our techniques. And so after the game, we went back to the basics, had a bye week to kind of have some time to focus on the little things that we talk about all the time: alignment, assignment, technique, football. And so that was the biggest takeaway. Again, it was a game that we competed for 60 minutes. The guys didn't quit. Obviously, the scoreboard wasn't what we all wanted, but that's football, and I think you learn a lot more in defeat than you do in victory sometimes. And so we learned a lot about ourselves that first game. We understand what we have to do moving forward to be a better football team, and hopefully when we take the field again in a few days, we'll be able to show that.
So second string Rashawn McKay put together a few blue-collar drives, but wasn't able to put points on the board. So what does games like against UCF help with the overall player development for young guys like himself?
I think it helps because you get to see them in those pressure-packed situations. Again, whenever you can play that many guys, I think it bodes well for the future. Obviously, you want to try to build depth as much as you can. The guys practice every day, but it's those game reps that really give you a true indication of what a young man can do. And so we were excited to get Rashawn McKay in the game. He did put together some really good drives, and had it not been for a blocked field goal, I think he puts points on the board, gets us all the way down inside great field position, so a field goal range. And so again, I think Rashawn has a bright future here. I think he is continuing to push Ryan to be a better quarterback, a better player, because competition drives us all. And I think the more competition we can build across the board at every position, the better this football team will be in the long run.
So one of the few positives of the game was punter Chris Fadul. He averaged about 50 yards per punt and put 4 punts in the 20-yard line. So what was his impact on the game?
Well, again, Chris is a huge weapon for us. He's arguably the best punter in the country. And whenever you can have a guy that can flip the field the way that he can, almost 50 yards, which is half the football field, it's a great asset to our team, specifically our defense, because, again, it gives those guys great field position. And our defense is very tough to drive 90, 80, 70-plus yards against. And so with Fadul pinning the opposition backed up the majority of the time, it really puts our team in a great position to be successful, and hopefully he can continue to perform at a high level, because, again, after week one, I think he's probably leading the nation in punting after leading the entire country in punting a year ago.
So I remember last time we spoke, you said being in the hot seat at FAMU is probably one of the toughest things. So social media had a lot to say about you guys' performance against UCF. So how do you respond against those critics that talk about your team's performance against the UCF?
Well, we understand the nature of it. Again, if people didn't say anything, if they didn't care, we wouldn't have the most rabid fan base, in America. And they're disappointed, rightfully so. We're disappointed, again, but we take our frustration out on the field. They get to take their frustration out in the social forums, social media, which is what it's there for, to voice their concern, to voice their opinions about, this football team, this coaching staff, you name it, But again, as players, as coaches, we understand that our mindset is that we get to take our frustration out in preparation the next day, the day after that, all the way until we get to take the field again. And so those frustrations are not isolated just to the fans. Those frustrations permeate throughout this football team. We're all disappointed. We're all frustrated and upset that we didn't perform the way that we're capable of performing. And so, again, the omen is on us to do something about it. And hopefully I encourage the fan base, that same upset fan or disgruntled fan, I encourage them to do something about it. Come out and support us. Come out and get behind us. Come out and cheer a little bit louder. Help these guys perform on the field at a high level, and that's what it takes at the end of the day. But we understand that that's the nature of it, and hopefully we don't give them many opportunities to be upset with us. Hopefully more so than not, they'll be happy with the outcome on Saturdays.
Well, I'm pretty sure they will be. So now I kind of want to take it more on just a bigger tip when it looks to HBCU football. So typically HBCU programs place a lot of Power 5 powerhouses opponents. So what is the benefit to going against the powerhouse opponents?
Well, I guess benefit would be, I don't know if benefit would be the operative word. We play those games to generate revenue for the athletic department. Most programs across America at the FCS level, even the mid-major level, and even some of the Power 5 schools spend more money in athletics than they generate. And most of us are state-funded programs, which means that the university is not legally able to provide us with resources to fund our athletic program. We're an auxiliary, which means we have to support ourselves. And so for us to generate revenue, for us to finish the year in the black, which means that we brought in more money than we spent, we have to play those what they call guarantee games, get those guaranteed contracts so that we can budget and plan for that year what our revenue would be as opposed to our expenses, and it's a way for us to balance our budget to make sure that we can continue to operate without having to cut scholarships, without having to drop sports, without having to reduce coaches and things of that nature to put us at a competitive disadvantage. And so we're not the only ones that do it. Mid-majors do it. And sometimes the results are lopsided because, again, those schools that we're playing against have a lot more resources. If they can afford to pay teams $400, $500, sometimes $1 million in guaranteed money, it shows you that they have pretty good resources at their disposal. And so the goal is for us to build our program up to where we don't necessarily have to play those games. We can choose to play them if we want to, but at this current time, we still have to play those type of games so that we can fund our non-revenue sports who don't generate the type of money that football and basketball do.
So kind of keeping on that tip of HBCU football, if you saw this, but Jamel Hill wrote this whole article mentioning FAMU football because last year you guys had the 5-star come in. I think his name is Kayvon Hill, right?
Kayvon Thibodeau, yes.
Yeah, Kayvon here. So she mentioned you guys about kind of talking about black athletes coming to historically black colleges and supporting the football program. So what is your overall thought of, athletes attending black colleges instead of predominantly white institutions?
Well, I think, the goal for any coach in any program is to attract the highest quality student athletes that we can attract. And, they have rankings for a reason, anywhere from 1-star all the way up to 5 stars. And all the prognosticators say that a 5-star is a can't miss talent. And obviously, we don't get many of those opportunities to recruit 5-star talent, to football teams, basketball teams, you name it. And so I think, again, the goal for us as HBCUs, as mid-major programs or FCS programs, is to build a program that will attract a Calvin Ashley, 5-star recruit. Marquise Bell is a 4-star recruit, an All-American out of high school that we have on our roster. And so there are opportunities for it, just maybe not at the level that it used to be before segregation. And once segregation happened and opened up the doors for guys to be able to go anywhere, HBCUs or PWIs, and obviously there's been a lot more resources poured into a lot of the PWIs so that they have a lot more of the bells and whistles that an 18-year-old will want to see, with brand new facilities, with stuff that may not even be necessary that you need, so to speak, indoor facilities and things like that. And so we want to continue to build and grow this program so that when we do reach out to a 4-star, 5-star, that he will understand that from a educational perspective, I don't think that's never been in question, what type of education you can receive at an HBCU, at a Florida A&M. I think everyone still knows that they can get a great education at FAMU. The challenge for us is to make sure that we can provide them with an athletic experience that they'll want to have, that's comparable to our PWI counterparts. And when we do that, I think we'll be able to attract those type of guys, and we'll see an influx of talent coming back to the HBCUs.
Well, it's time now for a break. When we return, Coach Simmons will give us his thoughts on the game against Fort Valley State on WANM Sports Presents the Coach Willie Simmons. This is WANM Sports Presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. I'm Calvin Sykes, and Coach Simmons is posted in the hot seat. So now that you guys rested for the bye week, What are some things that you learned about last week that kind of you made the overall adjustments to the team?
Well, we just kind of went back to basic fundamentals. It allowed us to kind of go back to day one of training camp. And so we worked a lot with alignment, just getting aligned properly. We worked a lot on communication. It's a huge emphasis in all three phases, offensively, defensively, and in special teams. And we worked our tempo. We want to play faster. We obviously had reasons to slow the game down in week one, knowing that we were going up against a high-powered attack as well, knowing that we didn't want to put our defense on the field a lot, in those type of situations. So we slowed the game down. And so we went back to working our tempo. Throughout the rest of the season, I think you'll see us play a lot faster, try to get the ball snapped with 20 seconds up on the clock, and really allow our tempo to wear the other team down. And so we focus on those things, and then just getting guys back healthy, which is always critical. And you use a bye week for that. And it was the first week of school, so we allowed our guys to kind of get caught up in the classroom. Well, not caught up, but kind of get ahead in the classroom as well, being that we just started the semester, and we want to make sure we start off on the right foot in that regard as well.
So now you guys are going up against Fort Valley State and what is better known as the Jake Gaither Classic. So last year, that was actually your first game at Bragg. So take me back. What was that experience like coaching back at Bragg Stadium as your first time as a head coach of FAMU?
It was really a surreal moment, to be able to come back home, to be named the head coach at such a prestigious institution, an institution that's meant so much to me in my life. My mother graduated from here. It's been well documented that 4 brothers and sisters graduated from here. My wife is a 2-time graduate. My son's a junior in school here now. My daughter goes to DRS right down the street. And so again, FAMU has been basically in my life as long as I can remember. My godbrother Eddie Battle played here for Coach Ken Riley. And so to be able to run out of the tunnel as the head football coach, the same tunnel that Jake Gaither ran out of, well, not technically the same tunnel, but, being like Jake Gaither, Rudy Hubbard, Billy Joe, Ken Riley, Joe Taylor, some giants in the coaching world, to be able to have my name mentioned in that same breath was truly a humbling experience. And I don't ever take it for granted. It's definitely a great honor every single day to be the head coach here. And that's why we work so hard. We're so committed to excellence here because we know the legacy that we follow. But again, it was a great experience, and was glad to come out with a win in our first game. And hopefully we can start that trend back, getting a win in our first home game in the Jake Gaither Classic this year as well.
So now they're coming back now. They're obviously coming back here and they want revenge. So after you guys have done some film study, you had a bye week. Just what is your overall take on this team that you're about to face on Saturday?
Well, they're a team that won't be, I don't think they'll be intimidated by the atmosphere. I expect a packed house. We have no whiteout, so everyone, of course, bring your white shirts and wear them to the game. But again, they were in this atmosphere last year. It was one of our biggest crowds. It was loud, it was raucous. And so, again, I think those guys will understand the atmosphere that they're coming into. And they're definitely a team that we can't take for granted. They have talent. Last year, Lorenzo Smothers, one of their receivers, almost had 200 yards receiving on us. And so, again, he's returning. A lot of other returning starters from last year's team. And so, again, it's definitely not a game that we can overlook and think that just because we are FAMU or we're a bigger school that we can just roll out and play. The last time we took the field, it wasn't very good. We all know that. And so we have a goal, a mission to get back to playing really good football. And like we tell the guys every week, Fort Valley is the competition, but the opponent is us. We're our opponent. That spirit of average is what we battle every single day. To not do the extra work, to not feel like we have to work as hard. And that's kind of what society has come to, of saying, well, you don't have to be different. You can just be like everybody else, and that's fine. But the true champions, the ones who really get over the hump, understand that you have to take it to the next level. You have to do more than everybody else if you want greatness. And this team wants greatness, and we're willing to put in the work to get it. And hopefully we can show that this opportunity coming Saturday, and then 9 more times this season as well.
So one of the hidden gems of your coaching staff is defensive Ralph Street. He's known for sending blitzes and different schemes to slow down different opponents' offense. So what is the scheme going up against Fort Valley that he has in stock that we'll see on Saturday?
Well, much of the same. Again, I think Ralph does a phenomenal job of switching up looks, from week to week. from series to series, play to play, so that you never really get a beat on what we're doing defensively. And I think that's why the guys enjoy playing in that defense. It gives them a chance to get tackles for loss, to get interceptions, fumbles, to really just be an aggressive attacking style defense. That's our philosophy. That's who we are, and we'll continue to be that way. So he's kind of our quiet assassin. He's not going to talk very much, other than to the players. He doesn't like doing interviews. He doesn't like being in the public light. But he's just going to stay behind the scenes and cook up some exotic blitzes to show the defense, show the opposing offenses. But he's done a phenomenal job. I've been working with Coach Street now for I think this is our 8th year together. Wow. So again, he's godfather to my kids. Wow. And we're godparents to his kids, and so great personal relationship. But he's a phenomenal football coach. Has a very bright future in this profession. But we're fortunate to have him, and I think under his leadership, our defense will take the next step. They were pretty good last year, but I think they'll take another step this year to be arguably the top defense in the conference.
Well, I like that confidence of the best defense in the conference. So now coming in, you talked about injuries and players coming back. So obviously a couple of players were shorthanded last year. I think one person in particular that kind of really stuck out to me that wasn't playing was senior wide receiver Marcus Williams. So now that he's back, how will he help the offense flow better and just be that extra senior leadership on the field?
Well, we're actually still working through some things to get Marcus back on the field. He did have a injury during camp that slowed him down as well. But once he gets back, Marcus is our fastest player. He can really take the top off the coverage. Obviously, that's a football term, which means he can get behind the defense. And it really forces them to soften up. If a defense knows that you have a player who can run by everyone, obviously they have to back up. And the further off they are, it allows us to utilize what we do best, which is get the ball to playmakers in space. And then that's when Xavier Smith can do what he does best. That's when Azende Ray and Chad Hunter and Bishop Bonnet, and George Webb and Ricky Henrillis and Devon Kendrick and Eddie Tillman, all the other playmakers, dynamic playmakers that we have, that's when those guys can really get off in the game. But again, Marcus is a big-time threat for us. He's a return specialist as well. Was one of the leading kick returners in the MEAC last season. And so once he returns, I think he'll give us an element that will really make us a very, very explosive offense. I think we'll be really good even if he's not there, but having him back really puts us, I think, on another level.
Well, when we return, we'll get to know the man behind the headphones. This is WNS. I'm Calvin Sykes. Joining me is Family Football head coach Willie Simmons. So, Coach, I must ask you this. Every time I see you have this aura about you that people just believe in you, from the fans to the players. So where does that come from?
Well, I think it just comes from a humbleness, a humility, rather, that I was raised with. Growing up in Quincy, Florida, one of the poorest socioeconomic places in the state of Florida. You learn how to work hard. You learn that you're not going to be given anything. You learn that anything worth having is worth working for. And so I just try to take those principles, those traits, along with me wherever I've gone. I've always been, I guess, somewhat of an overachiever. I was an undersized quarterback, coming out of high school. Had an opportunity to go to Clemson and have a decent career there and finish my career up at the Citadel as an all-conference player. And then once I got into the coaching profession, really just kind of fast-tracked. But again, I think that was a result, one, of the blessings from the Most High. I think I've been highly favored in my life, and then just the hard work that I put in. I'm no stranger to it, and I believe that's the only way to success. People ask what's the key to success. I think it's just working hard, really trying to perfect your craft, really having a goal every day to be the very best that you can be, and staying positive. So I think, aside from all the things I talked about, to answer your question, probably the most is just I try to be an eternal optimist. I always look for the good in things, the good in people, and I think that kind of makes people gravitate to me a little bit. I don't know for sure, and I've never asked, but I think people tend to want to be around positive people more so than negative people, and I try to stay positive even in adversity, even when things aren't going so well. Keep a smile on your face, stay positive, always look for the good in what can be, and I think that gets our players to play hard. I think that gets our fan base to kind of wrap their arms around this program And that's what it's going to take to continue to move us forward, because every day won't be sunny, but as long as we stay positive and we keep moving forward, I think we'll have a chance to achieve our goals as a program, as a university, as a fan base, as a country. And that's I think that's my motto, kind of what I live by every day.
So now I want to take you back to your playing days. If you could remember, what is just your favorite memory of your athletic career? Just one memory that sticks out to you that you'll talk about, you know, when your kids have grandkids, you'll tell. What was that one moment for you?
As a player,
Yeah.
Probably high school. Probably high school winning the district championship. You know, it was our first district championship in 22 years. My first time being ranked that high in the state. We had gotten all the way up to, I think, the number 2 team in the state in 4A that year, and just had a really, really good football team. And so for us to beat Leon, to beat God, beat Rickers, NFC, all the teams in Tallahassee who had really kind of been dominant over us for years and years, really just made that year magical. And so I can't really pinpoint one moment. I guess it would have to be the moment when we beat Crestview and we knew right then that we were district champs. And just to be able to hold up, you know, is a picture that one of my classmates has, and she keeps all that stuff. But if you look at the picture, and if anyone's seen it, it looks like I'm giving the middle finger. I'm actually not. I'm holding my ring finger up, but I got all the other ones bent. So my ring finger is up, showing that we're going to get a ring. And again, if you just glance at it, it looks like the head coach of FAMU is throwing up the middle finger, but I'm really not. And so that was a special moment, just knowing that we had finally won the district championship, first one in over 20 years, and the community in Quincy was so excited during that time, and it just brought life to the university, to the community. And that's really what football can do. It can galvanize an entire community, and we were just happy to be able to do that back in 1998.
Well, now I kind of want to take it now to your coaching career. A lot of people have mentors. You know, I have mentors. I'm pretty sure you have mentors. So what coach has helped you out the most throughout your coaching career that kind of gave you that jump start to, you know, be in the position that you're in today?
Well, the first one that jumps out is Tommy Bowden. Tommy coached me in college. You know, I was in his first recruiting class, and once I began coaching, he really kind of became my mentor, especially as a head coach. If I had head coaching questions, he would be the one I call and kind of ask how I needed to handle the situation. Hiring practices. Fortunately, I haven't had to fire anybody yet in my coaching career. But just dealing with players. So Tommy Bowden's been a great mentor. Rick Stockstill, the head coach at Middle Tennessee State, recruited me out of high school, was there at Clemson when I played, gave me my first job as a position coach at Middle Tennessee State. He's been a great mentor. Dabo Sweeney was on that staff at Clemson when I got there as well. So a lot of my Clemson ties are really kind of mentors to me. Jay Hobson, you know, who I worked for at Alcorn State. And then guys like even Willie Taggart, you know, across the street, is a guy that if I need to, I can call on and ask for advice. You know, so the coaching networking community is a small community, and it's always good to be able to have guys that you can call on. But I think the James Franklins of the world, the Charlie Strongs of the world, especially African American head coaches, have all kind of taken us under their wing. And if I need to call one of them for a favor, they'll pick up the phone when I call and be able to give me the advice that I need.
You lead this amazing program. Now I want to know what you do outside of football. So what is your favorite downtime to do when you're not around here running around Bragg, chasing after Lord knows all these players and, you know, catching wins in Bragg?
Well, I don't have many hobbies, so to speak. I mean, I don't fish, I don't hunt, I don't play golf. I tell people all the time, the only thing that I can do longer than 2 hours, which football, a game lasts, you know, 3 hours or so. The only thing I can do outside of football is watch a movie. I love movies. I'm a huge Marvel cinema buff. I've seen every Marvel movie, all 22 of them. Looking forward to the next phase that's coming out. So I'm a big movie guy. There's some shows that I watch with my wife to catch up on in downtime, but we don't really get much downtime. So whenever I leave the office late, I'll get home and, you know, see the kids in bed and probably lay down and turn the TV on and maybe catch up on a show like Power or you know, Greenleaf or something like that. But that's really it. You know, watch movies, watch TV every now and then. I try to read whenever I can. You know, if it's a long road trip or something like that, maybe read a book by Tony Dungy or Nick Saban or someone like that. But if I had to pick one pastime, it would definitely be movies.
Okay, so now I thought of this. This took me real long and hard. I want to see how you're going to respond to this. What if you were stuck on the island? If you had to take a player and a coach, which player and coach would it be and why?
If I had to take one player and one coach,
yeah.
Is it someone that I've coached or just I can pick any
player?
No,
all on the FAMU team.
On this current team.
Current
so
team.
It's current team, current player, current coach.
Yes.
Who would I take? It's probably easier to say who I wouldn't take. Couldn't take Coach Jackson. He's my best friend, but he would eat all the food on the island, so I'll probably starve to death. I'm joking. That's my brother, so I can joke with him. That's hard to say what player I take, because again, these guys are so animated. A lot of people don't really know how funny they really are, until you just really get around them. Their personalities, because they're so shy. They're really big guys, athletic guys, and people see that, but when they get up on them, they're really shy.
Wow.
They don't really like interacting with people outside of football, and we encourage them to do so to kind of really find their voice, But Marquise Bell is a comedian. He's a very, very animated guy. But probably Elijah Richardson would be a guy that I'd take, and not so much because of how funny he is or how much fun he is to be around. But Elijah's just a guy that I've really grown a ton of respect for. His level of maturity. I know that I can sit there and have intellectual conversations with Elijah. He's a very spiritual guy, so that he's a guy I know we could pray together. We do a lot of those things together. And if I was on the island, that's what I want to be doing. I wouldn't be running around trying to have the most fun. I want to make sure that I'm, feed my spirit and things of that nature. And then what coach? That's hard to say as well, I know which coach I take, and it's my head coach, which is my wife. She's the head coach of the head coach, and so again, I definitely want to be with her. But that is a really great question, and I don't know. It would be fair to pinpoint one coach on the staff because they all have the different traits and qualities and things that make them who they are. But again, I'm blessed. I have a really good coaching staff. A really great group of guys. I mean, I tell everyone all the time, I really encourage people to kind of get to know these guys outside of football. You see them on the field, you see them sometimes, around campus, but really just, if you see one in the store, in the mall, in the restaurant, don't be afraid to just go and speak to them, introduce yourself to them, and they'll talk back. They will engage you. Again, a lot of them are shy and reserved, but that's because they're so guarded. They feel like they live in a bubble, so to speak, because everything they do is magnified, and a lot of times they're afraid to say the wrong thing, because they're worried about how it will be perceived. But again, they're really, really great guys, and they represent Florida A&M in a first-class manner. And that's really what the goal is here. And I think if they continue to do that, the wins will continue to come, and we'll get this program back to the level that we all envision it being, which is the reason I was brought here.
So, Coach, I want to thank you for your time today, and best of luck this week against Fort Valley State. I'm Calvin.